everybody. The moment we've been waiting for. Pre-fundraising for our sister's book. We promised. What's the word we use? Not promised. We
committed. We made a commitment.
We committed. That's the word. We committed to actually do this, guys. Here we are. I'm trying to get this right so I don't get it wrong. The name of the book is Ubulungisa, Deconstructing Gender in Afrikan Spirituality, the untold story of the Afrikan warrior. It basically talks about pre-colonial Africa.
Afrikan warrior women. Afrikan warrior women.
It talks about pre-colonial Africa and the impact of the Afrikan warrior woman. Yes. That's basically the whole thing. That's basically what we're talking about. So my name is Oladile Dosumu. I am the co-founder of Emerging Kebelan. And today, like we said, we're committed to bring this book on the shelves. It's a story, I've read snippets of this, and it's a story that everybody needs to read. When we're talking about Chancellor Williams, when we're talking about Ngugi wa Thiong'o, I think what my sister has got to offer is on those parallels. That's how much I rate this book. So, you know what? This is the process of actually raising funds to actually bring this book to the shelf. So, guys, with all your support today, please, I'm begging, in the spirit of Ubuntu, we need to commit collective, communal building together to make this book happen. Undergo.
Asante sana Oladile, asante sana Mama Khanyisile, asante sana wana Ubuntu wenzetu, right, for being here with us today. Mama Khanyisile and Oladile, I didn't think about this before, but I just thought about it. I wrote my experience with the book. Can I just read that and once I introduce myself and then we can get started?
Yes.
Definitely.
Right. Yes, please. So again, my name is Nduku. I'm coming in two roles today as the host of Kumbukeni and a Mbongi of Mbongi ya Ubuntu. A Mbongi is someone who accepts responsibility and takes action to meet that responsibility. And therefore, the responsibility we have taken is to tell our narrative and to counter the false narrative that the Western media has told about us for too long, and also to support our brothers and sisters on this day, Mama Khanyisile, to tell our narrative and to publish their stories. So my experience with Ubulungisa, Deconstructing Gender in Afrikan Spirituality, the untold story of Afrikan warrior women, by Mama Khanyisile. The book is a revelatory masterpiece that has finally provided me with the answers I've been seeking for so long. So like I've mentioned before, I was born and raised Catholic, and I have been struggling and asking myself questions, but more so the role of a woman, right, in this society that very much favors men. I have asked myself, how is this person, who is the one who bears life, who is the one who nurtures us all, including the men who do not respect her, looked down upon so much? So in a world where the role of a woman has often been overshadowed by patriarchal norms, Mama Khanyisile is courageously delivering the untold story of the Afrikan woman. And I am proud to join my brother, to join the rest of the community, our brothers and sisters who are not with us on screen, but who have been working hard to make this happen, to tell this story with our sister, my big sister, Mama Khanyisile.
Yeah, she's our sister, man. She's our sister. We respect my sister, man. You know how we feel about you.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Sis. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I don't even know where to start. Today is just so historic for me because this book was gathering dust for 2 years, because each publisher I went to, including universities, are taking like 90-something%, of the rights. UNISA was the highest. I think they were giving me 13%. So I was just like, okay, it will just sit there until the day I have the money to self-publish. And until I met Oladile and Duku here, who've made this a reality. And it's funny because each time I spoke at an event, young people would come and say, yeah, we need to get the book published, and then I would say, I am just an author. you are the ones on social media, the organizer, whatever. So do it, I'll pitch up. They never showed up, you know. So I think the two of you are just more than a brother and a sister to me. I think you've been gifted to me by our African ancestors. So yeah, I take my hat off the two of you. Actually, for your commitment.
Respect. Yeah.
How did the book come along? I think I pretty much went through the same experience like you, Nduku. I don't think up to 99% of Africans in this continent, I don't think we make a choice for religion. The choice is made for us. If you're Catholic like me, it's even worse, because Catholics baptize when you are a baby. I mean, you don't know your name, you can't speak, I'm sure you're still taking the surroundings of your world. You're still trying to say, okay, I'm out of my mother's womb now. Now I'm in this place where there's so many people and so many sounds. And then you get baptized and initiated into a religion that you just grow up under. And then for Catholics, actually, it's a double-edged sword, because even at school, you go to Catholic schools, which is what happened to me. But I think being caught up in the struggle against apartheid made me to start to question some things, you know, like, okay, systemically something is wrong. And I think in that trajectory, you get to a point where you get past, okay, this is the immediate, this is apartheid, okay, but it's not isolated. Okay, there was colonialism, so this links together. Oh no, there was slavery before that. Oh no, there was the Arab one before the European one. So it's a process, it's a journey. I think I got into worrying about the position of the African woman via worrying about the position of the African race, actually. For me, the position of my people has always been a concern for me, as I said, starting with apartheid. But skipping the country through Botswana, being in Zambia, then Angola, caught in the civil war of Angola between UNITA and the MPLA, you start to question and you ask yourself, okay, it's not just apartheid. The position of my people throughout the continent is sometimes worse than what I thought I left at home and was bad. So yeah, you begin to say, okay, what now? What has happened? It's been a journey. I think religion is an opium. One of the few instances I agree with Karl Marx. It's an opium because when I skipped the country and joined MK and they introduced me to communism, I left religion. When I came back home in 94, I went back to religion, full force, what it was before, actually. And then as the messages from the ancestors became stronger, Christianity was also, becoming stronger. It's a hold on you. And then I was just like, okay, maybe it's the Bible that's wrong, man. The people who wrote it that are wrong. There should be another way in which it's written, which is right, which still makes it credible. You go through a process where you turn away from a white Jesus, but you create a black Jesus. You call them Yeshua, and going through this whole thing of wanting to learn what is called Yiddish, code named Hebrew today, and we are cramming all the Nisi, the Rafa, and still just the void just can't go away. Because even there, the position of my people, or the African women, pesters, it just pesters to say, but it's a lowly stature. So, and then when I did my PhD, you come across writings that I sent a quote to Ndugu that I said, please read it when I speak. You come against such writings and you say to yourself, hang on, a white man wrote this about my people. Please read it, Ndugu.
Okay. I have traveled across the length and breadth of Africa, and I have not seen one person who is a beggar, who is a thief. Such wealth I have seen in this country, such high moral values, people of such caliber, that I do not think we would ever conquer this country unless we break the very backbone of this nation, which is her spiritual and cultural heritage, and therefore I propose that we replace her old and ancient education system, her culture, For if the Africans think that all that is foreign and English is good and greater than their own, they will lose their self-esteem, their native culture, and they will become what we want them, a truly dominated nation.
When was that written, Duku? There's a
This
year?
is Lord Macaulay's address to the British Parliament on 2nd February 1835.
Wow.
Exactly. 1835, that was the 19th century.
Mm-hmm.
We are now in the 21st century. So that started me thinking. And then I came against other quotations now written by Arab men, which are in the book, and we don't want to rush this because this is our first marketing drive. I think we still have 3 more.
Yes.
So we'll get to the Arab quotations, which are equally as shocking as this one. So, you know, when I met this quotation, I said, hang on. This is not the Africa that I know. It's not the Africa that I was taught about at school. It's not the Africa that I see today. And that forced me to look into Africa in what is called BCE, before the Common Era. And I did that because Oladele and Dugu, I was just like, okay, so there was that. And then there was the Arab adventure of 476 when they came here. And then 369, actually, I mean, but fully conquered 476. And then there was the Europeans that came in 1400. And then there's what we now call post-colonial. So I was like, oh, okay. So it means if I have to find out who really we are and what was the position of African women, I have to look at what I've called pre-colonial. And pre-colonial, I go as far back as before the Arabs arrived. And then you have the colonial culture. It's now starting to change, you know, because it's assimilating with this powerful statutory culture that's coming in. And then you have the post-colonial, obviously, that really was a reaction to colonialism. So I think Africa BCE challenged me because I began to affirm what Lord Macaulay was saying and writing about my people. That even if we weren't governed as one, there was no AU. You had the Yoruba, the Igbo, the Nubians, the Zulu, you know, the Lama people. You had, but what I found to be true for all of us was that in not a single one of them was I finding an instance where a gender came out of another gender. I was not finding an instance where you have what they call God in religion, we call the originator, whose biological gender was predisposed. And in very few instances where it was, you find the check and balance, I think, which is why the book is Ubulungisa, which is a constant act of fixing and balancing. You find that the immediate pantheon under that originator is a deity which is female to balance them, and then the pantheon that follows is equal genders, the ancestors are equal genders. So I think as that fascinated me, these women just started coming out of the cobwebs. It's like they were crawling out of the walls. I was just like, what a wealth and an amount of women who have led out there. Why don't I know about them? And each time I was fascinated by one, it's almost like they were speaking from the grave with me out of their own mouths. As I was getting fascinated with one, another one would come out. Different offices, different angles, those who challenged religion, those who fought against the invading colonialists, those who fought to protect the national altars of their people, different settings. And I thought, okay, I need to put pen to paper. It took me a lot of years. I think I took 4 years writing this book. Wow. And there's a particular chapter that is coined Afrogender. I think another thing that has happened to me through the years, because I'm forthright and I speak and I'm a fighter, people then started inviting me to women events, you know, and then people would ask, are you a feminist? I've never really known how to answer that. I've always answered it with, you know, tongue in cheek, because the history of feminism itself is a history of white women fighting for equality. And I'm just like, but I'm not fighting for equality. I'm just fighting for the total liberation of my culture, from the clashes of colonialism and from the bastardization, because if that happens, the position of the African woman just pops up and equates on its own, because that was the culture. I don't need to make it up. I don't need to fight for equality. I just need to fight for the liberation of the culture. So I think those are the things that were going through my mind as I was writing. And I was trying to be careful to not to, because that's another pitfall into which we fall, not to move from a position where I'm trying to write the stories of the true histories of these women in a lens that is Christian, you know, or that is questioning. Like, for instance, where you find Saronia, Mango, shape-shifting into a panther to avert the French from beheading her. Initially, when I read the story, I was just like, remember, I'm coming from a Christian background. I'm just like, no, but shape-shifting is demonic. No, but actually, this sounds like a myth. How can I call this history? It's mythology. So I think as I was writing myself, I was being decolonized to learn to look at pre-colonial African history, that BCE era, with the lens with which it deserves. That African spirituality is creative, but also that African spirituality allows you as the human on this realm called Earth to mix the science and the spirituality so that you can birth the miracles. For instance, when I came across Jomo Kenyatta's Facing Mount Kenya, and that famous quotation now that I've coined in the book, that we didn't pray for rain, we fetched rain, you know. So I was decolonizing myself in the process, and I think maybe that's why it took 4 years, because I would stop at some instances and just fight my own demons of disbelieving what I am interacting with, you know, just saying, is this true? Can I even put this out in a book and expect people to read? It sounds like a bedtime story for children. And at times, I would get the history of a woman, and I would just feel the void that this is not a full story. Something is missing. The glue is not coming together. I would stop for weeks and allow that woman to just lead me, you know, to other sources that allow me to piece the story and the history together. So, yes, it's been challenging. It challenged me a lot. And I think it challenged a lot of the notions that I had about the difference between spirituality and religion. Remember, like most Africans, the 99% I was talking about, we don't have a proper grounding in spirituality. Spirituality is something we are fighting constantly to get back to understand, to think in its context, because we've been religized, if I can make such a verb, our entire lives, that juxtaposing spirituality and religion becomes such an uphill. And I think maybe that's why it took me so many years to write this book and say, okay, now it's at a point where I think it can go out. And even after writing it, I mean, it was edited 3 times by various people, history, cultural people, and the last person to edit it was a history PhD holder. I think we will talk about her in the next coming drives, perhaps even ask her to come in, even if it's for 10 of
you can have her join us.
Yes. But yeah, even the editing took, I said it took 4 years to write it. The editing itself took about 1 year and 6 months of its own. So yeah, it's not been an easy book to me. I hope the second one will be easier.
Having read it, it was worth the time, and I appreciate that you took your time. You confronted the challenges, and you took them on, and remained grounded in staying authentic, right? Authentic in the Ubuntu way, and not washing away. First of all, acknowledging that you have bias from Christianity and Western ways, and making sure that you're aware of it so that it does not influence the way you wrote. So, took over. Yes.
Thank you.
Fantasana. All right. Oladile, do you want to go to the quotes? As Mama Khanyisile, we can go through what Mama Khanyisile just talked about, because as she was,
you know what, I have these things. I've got these 3 things that I've got written down here, and I've got the Afrikan Warrior Woman, I got the Warrior Queen, I got the Warrior Spirit Medium. Can you talk to that about us? Can you explain that to me, please?
Okay, you have the Warrior Queen.
Yeah, I've got the Afrikan Warrior Queen, Afrikan Warrior Woman. We got the Warrior Queen, and then we got the Warrior Spirit Medium.
Okay, so Afrikan Warrior Women, it's women who went on the throne, like Mkabayi Gajama of the Zulu nation. She was not an ultimate leader at any given point, but she was a warrior woman who commanded a battalion called Ubulungisa, a military battalion. Okay. The Warrior Queen is a queen who is on the throne, but she's also a military commander. She leads her forces to war. Today we say any president of any country is the commander-in-chief, but they don't go to war, we know that. Yeah. So these women led by example. They were queens in their own right, but when war came, they led their forces to war, like Amanirenas of the Nubian kingdom. They were called the Kendake queens, which was a matriarchal period of about 100 years in the history of Nubian people. She led her forces to war against Augustus the emperor, and actually led her to a stalemate. That's after Augustus had invaded Kemet and conquered it. For people who are not familiar, that's Egypt. And obviously, if you want to expand the Roman Empire after you conquer Kemet, where do you go? Down south, and that next down south is what is Sudan today. It was Nubia then. So she met Amanirenas at war. She actually rode an elephant. She went to that battle riding an elephant. And then you wanted the warrior medium, ne?
The warrior spirit medium.
Spirit medium. Yeah. For instance, you have in South Africa what you call Isangoma today, which is a spirit medium. Seers, people who can see into the future. You meet one in the book called Neander. Neander is in today's Zimbabwe. After the British had conquered in South Africa, they wanted to expand. Remember, we are the country that is in the tip of the southernmost part of the continent. So if you want to expand inland, where do you go? You go north, and north is into what is called Zimbabwe today. So they met Nehanda, who was a spirit medium, who understood there was a sort of a cold war at the time between the Shona people and the Ndebele people. But Nehanda understood that for us to conquer the British South Africa Company, we have to unite spiritually. She understood that it's not a political or an economic war, it's a spiritual war. So she rallied the other spirit mediums of Shona people. She was Shona, who were male, rallied the others of the Ndebele people and brought them together. And together, they formed a formidable resistance against the British South Africa Company, Cecil John Rhodes's company, who obviously was representing England at the time. She was captured, and just before they beheaded her, they told her, you need to convert to Christianity. We can't behead you. We feel sorry for you, because if we behead you now, you're going straight to hell. And Nehanda was just like, if I were you, I wouldn't even behead me. Because if you behead me, my bones will just keep rising and rising and rising again. And I can assure you, if you speak to any Zimbabwean, they will tell you each time they meet a deadlock from their struggle against Ian Smith, throughout the struggles Zimbabweans have faced, they will tell you from time to time, when the spirit of Nehanda sweeps through that nation, they know change is about to happen. Societal change is about to happen. So that's a spirit medium, for example.
Brilliant. Okay. Yeah, Nico, go on.
On that spirit medium, I was going to say, I was writing down quickly. We recently, and this comes up a lot with Ubuntu, right? Africans, as you all know them. And they say, leave us to practice our religion. Don't force us to follow your way, right? Leave us to practice our religion. You're telling us in this moment where they were facing a huge threat, Nihandra realizes that they have to come together spirituality. And that's the importance of coming together spiritually, because your force is strong enough to face the threat. This is the importance. So until we unite spiritually as one Ubuntu, we will always be at the mercy of those who are willing to attack us, because we are not united. We're not building that front that is going to block them from coming inside our way of being, right? Inside our existence. So as long as we have Catholics, Muslims, whatever it is you want to call yourselves, if you're ancient Jew, and you're all like, we are moving in different directions, and there's holes, literally, this is the fence, we are talking about the fence that is supposed to be protecting us, and there's holes everywhere, we will be attacked. This is the thing. We're not forcing you to put away your Christianity. We're telling you, we are looking back and we are seeing that the only times we have won is when we were together spiritually. And therefore, learning from our ancestors, it is important for us to realize that this is where we need to go. I don't know, Mama Khanyisile. These people want to hold on to Christianity and to call it.
My sister, you shouldn't, after you read the quotation from Macaulay, 18 something, before he lists the other things, I think you should reread it very slowly. I'm moved that you reread it very slowly. Just read it and make those words sink into the listeners' minds. Please reread it.
Yeah, go on.
As I start to read it, I will say, this is the blessing of sitting with an elder. This really is the blessing of sitting with an elder. I have a young mind. I am quick to anger. I am quick to dismissing my fellow brothers and sisters. But the elder is saying, listen, read what they did so that you can understand. Okay. I have traveled across the length and breadth of Africa, and I have not seen one person who is a beggar, who is a thief. Such wealth I have seen in this country, such high moral values, people of such caliber, that I do not think we would ever conquer this country unless we break the very backbone of this nation, which is her spiritual and cultural heritage, and therefore...
Please wait right there. Firstly, let's point out to the listeners, when he says country, he means the continent. He says he hasn't seen beggary, he hasn't seen thievery, he's met people of such high moral values. I like where he's a white, racist British man of 18 something, understand him in the context of how they saw us at the time. But he says, this is because of their spirituality, that's where he starts, and their culture. I've always argued, you can't separate the two. Our spirituality is lived out through the culture. We don't have a Bible. That's why culture is so important. That's why we force people with a culture, because for us, if you are breaking the cultural code, you are breaking the spiritual code. So our culture is sacred, because that's the vehicle of the spirituality. But I like it, Nduku, and you're going to read further, my sister, because he locates where all our welfare, our well-being, our morality, our superiority over them at the time, because he accepts that I haven't seen it anywhere else, including Britain itself. He says it's because of their spirituality, it's because of their culture. Please read further.
I propose that we replace her old and ancient education system, her culture. For if the Africans think that all that is foreign and English is good and greater than their own, they will lose their self-esteem, their native culture, and they will become what we want them, a truly dominated nation.
There's another let in there that it's making my stomach grumble. He says, if we lose our spirituality and our culture, what are we losing? Our self-esteem.
We lose ourselves. We lose our self-identity.
When we lose that, we are going to be it's like the making of a colonized person, a truly dominated people. And we are dominated people today.
Yes.
Yes, we are. We are.
It doesn't make sense to me why we produce the raw materials for the world, but we are the lowly of the creatures. Our raw materials, our energy, our oil, nothing of ours. Our coffee, ordinary coffee beans, does not translate to wealth or to breakfast at the table for the people who are growing those coffee beans. Starbucks makes more money out of coffee than coffee growers in Burundi, in Tanzania, in Uganda, in Ethiopia, wherever you find coffee beans in this continent. Belgian chocolate is more famous than the coffee beans that make it. Where do those coffee beans come from? Burundi, Rwanda, and the other African places. Swiss chocolate, where do they get the coffee beans from? So honestly, I stopped you and I said, reread it when you said, they say, don't change us. Don't tell us what to do. I read the comments, even in the last one I did with Alpha House. They say, leave Christianity alone. But it's not for me to leave Christianity alone. Christianity should leave African spirituality alone. They were the first to demonize us. They were the first to tell us that it's not spirituality, it's demonism. They were the first to tell us that Saronia's shape-shifting was demonic, that you can't shape-shift into anything, it's satanic. They were the first to tell us we don't have languages, it's just unintelligible sounds. They were the first to tell us that black is ugly. They were the first to tell us the Bantu buttocks protrude from their bodies. Their hips are falling off their bodies. I'm not making these things up.
Yeah.
So when you react to us trying to put African spirituality and culture back on the map, and your reaction is leave Christianity alone, believe what you believe without demonizing others. We are not demonizing anything. We are merely just correcting the picture. That's like you saying, deal with racism, but don't deal with white supremacy. How am I going to separate the two? How am I going to do that? Christianity is a state religion. Easter is a public holiday in Africa, but African Day is not. It's only in 4 African countries, I think, if not 5. Including mine, it's not a public holiday. But even Ascension Day is a public holiday in some African countries. Ramadan is a public holiday, but Africa Day is not. So how do you expect us to deal with this mental slavery that Macaulay suggested should happen in this continent for us to be properly colonized? How do we deal with it if we don't point you to the source of what caused it?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's deep. Okay.
The other, before we even go to the quotes, Oladile, there was another thing Mama Khanyisile said as she was opening. Are you a feminist? The question, right? Are you a feminist? And as you were talking about that, I'm thinking, you said you're fighting for the liberation of our culture, which is a brilliant response, because in our culture being liberated, the woman takes her rightful place. And therefore, you don't need to fight for feminism. But also, in the way of Ubuntu, the feminine and the masculine are one. We cannot fight for one over the other. We cannot fight for feminine and not fight for masculine. That is not being in the way of Ubuntu, right? Ma'at. We have to fight for the whole community. Only a Western culture would see the woman above the male. Only a Western culture is about staying in your lane when we in our culture do not have lanes. We in our culture do not have lanes, right? So I was happy to hear that. If you want to touch on it one more time, you can, please.
We don't have lanes. That's why my junior degree, I majored in drama and politics. People normally laugh and say, what a combination. But you need to be a drama queen or an actor to make it in politics. Anyway, talk for another day. But in African drama, the first thing we were taught, juxtaposing it to European drama, and that was at UCT, was that African drama is interactive. There is no demarcation between the actor and the audience. So the audience and the actor merge and become one. How? So when they sing on stage, we stand and we sing along. Sometimes we even climb the stage, and you no longer even know who who actually was the singer and who's the one that just climbed up and then you climb down after that. So, you know, it's interactive. So we don't have lanes. The issue of feminism breaks my heart, Nduku, because it cost me a post in Tanzania. I will not say where because, but I'm sure if those people hear, they will know who they are. It cost me a post because I was painted as anti-feminist by one of the international non-governmental organizations. We call them INGOs.
But
because
Mama,
in the board said to them, she's against feminism. So
but that's the irony. That's the irony that a woman who claims to be feminist is attacking a woman.
Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, I've suffered by declaring myself non-feminist, but I stand by it. I am an Afro-gender person. I'm not a feminist. But also when you are talking about we don't have lanes and that feminine and masculine come together, you can't have woman over a man or men over a woman. I was thinking it's a concept in the book where I say a fleeting gender, a fluid gender. So for Africa, gender is a social construct in the real sense of it. It is not a biologically given, cast in stone state of being. So there is no way then we can fight for gender equality because gender itself is a social construct, and how Yorubas construct it would be different from how Zulu people construct it. But the thing about it is there is nowhere where there was advocacy of promoting one over the other. That's why you find, let's take, for instance, a matriarchal kingdom that still exists in South Africa called the Mujaji kingdom, the rain-making kingdom. So it is forbidden, and they are in the book. It is forbidden to call them queens, but they are women. You call them kings, Khoshi, in Sepedi, or in the language Silobedu, actually, it's not Sepedi. You call them Khoshi when they are a plural, the Khoshi. So you refer to them as kings, but they are women. Now listen to the next thing. Then they take wives. The wives are women. They are women too. They take wives.
Yeah, I heard about that.
And they are called the king's wives. So, and then the royal council though is male dominated of Khosi Mujaji. It has to be male dominated because why? It brings the balance. Yes, it brings the balance. So, you know, you can go, it's called cosmology. You can go through the cosmologies of various African people, the Yoruba, the Zulu, the Sotho. It doesn't matter, whatever comes to mind. Look at the cosmology and you will realize that no gender is advanced above the other. I think it's in the book also. Maybe next week we should, when next we do this.
Next month, yeah.
Next month. We should go through that, what I've called the juxtaposition. Marimba Ani also talks about it a lot. The juxtaposition between Western philosophy and African philosophy is informed exactly by that, Nduku, what you said. In that the West will say matter versus spirit. The two can be synonymous. If you are a spirit person, you are irrational, so you can't be a matter person. You can't be scientific. If you are scientific, you can't be spiritual. That's irrational. But for us, the two merge together because at the altar at home, when I say Thokozani Bogogo na Bomkhulu, when I greet the ancestors, they are the past. They are the spirit, the past. I am the matter, and the originator is the future. So even time collides for us. Past, present, future come to one. For them, they say, oh, yesterday is gone. You know, tomorrow is not forever. I'm just like, no, yesterday is not gone. What we are today is because of yesterday. So they demarcate. So, you know, when I always make this example and say, when the first briefing of the CIA, if a civil war breaks out anywhere in Africa, in that first briefing, listen to the language. They say, the person giving the briefing will talk and say, oh, this is Rwanda, it's this and this and this. the first person who asks the question will say, okay, I hear you. Now simplify it. Who are the good guys? Who are the bad guys? What if they're all bad guys? What if they're all good guys, but have a misunderstanding? So the us and them in Western philosophy, I think that's why Christianity for them makes sense, because they were actually in spirituality before, by the way, also, before Christianity descended upon them. Because maybe the philosophy is us and them. It's African philosophy is not us and them. That's why even the originator does not have power. You know, in a lot of cosmologies in Africa, you see the deities challenging the originator. Some of them even tell you that's why the originator left the earth and decided, I'm gonna go live somewhere up in the sky. You guys sort yourselves out. You are questioning too much. You're asking us too much. So you give you authority there. You'll deal with us when you need us. For us, nothing is unquestioned, because there is no us and them. There is not this one person that has got so much power and authority. So when you were talking, my sister Nduku, I think that's what came to mind, that the us and them, it's in the philosophy. It is not in our philosophy.
Yeah. Please hold on to that thought, because I need to stay disciplined. We are doing a pre-purchase campaign, so we need to start promoting that. But please hold on to that thought, because I was going to ask you something and I said, no, you need to stay disciplined, my sister.
Before Nduku,
let's stay in the flow.
Let's say the before you go into the quotes, sis, I want you to talk about, are we talking about African spirituality? Are we talking about the Afrikan Warrior Women? Can you just shed a little bit of light into how they're both linked?
Before she does, I'm going to actually step in, right? And we're going to start with our first tier. The way we are doing this is going to have several tiers. We're going to have 4 tiers for you all to be able to pre-purchase the book. And we're going to go through all the tiers during our breaks and explain what they mean. I just shared the link right now for the bronze tier. That is the e-commerce page where you can buy it. We were going to have a website ready today, but we are facing challenges, technical challenges, and we are hoping that we'll have the website up by this weekend, so that not only will you be able to buy the book, but also you can read the story, the process Mama Khanyisile went through. You can read some of the quotes, and you can start engaging with the process through the website. So that is the bronze. I just shared the link. And what do you, as a Ubuntu, get with the bronze purchase? And please remind me, because I forget here how much it was. Sam, if you're listening, was this one the $20 one? Because I don't have that price. Oladile, if you want to run.
I've got it. Give me a second. I'm just checking that out.
The bronze, you want to support Europe. No, it didn't have a price. Yeah, so we're right. You are someone who wants to support the author, make sure this book is realized so that others can become as enlightened as you are. So this is the tier where you're donating. You don't necessarily want to have a book in exchange for your donation, but you want to support the publishing of the book. This is what all the money we're going to raise today will go towards. You will receive a personalized digital thank you note from Mama Khanyisile as a member of the bronze tier, right? So these are Wana Ubuntu who want to support the publishing and don't necessarily want to get a book back in exchange of their financial support. This is the bronze level. So yes, Mama Khanyisile, Oladile, we can go back to your question. And I'm going to have the bronze running through the screen. If you did not catch what I said, it will be there for those of you who want to see exactly what it is.
Okay.
Oladile.
My brother Oladile, you wanted me to go deeper into the Afrikan warrior?
We're basically talking about African spirituality, and we're talking about the Afrikan Warrior Women, the link between the African spirituality and Afrikan Warrior Women, which is basically what the book is all about.
Yes, I am so glad you asked that question, because I think that's been missing since we started talking.
Yes,
because spirituality informed culture. So culture is the vehicle of the spirituality. Language is the vehicle of the culture. That's why I've called it a triangle. It completes itself. So no leader in Africa pre-colonially led without a spirit medium. Isangoma or Inyanga for those listening from South Africa or Southern Africa at the time. That's why even when you look at Njingambande, I love her so much.
Yeah.
First queen of Ndongo and Matamba. You will see each time, and she was fighting against Portuguese colonialism and slave trade.
Yeah,
Each
I watched that
time
again a couple of days ago, sis.
Yes, each time it got tough, she would say to the advisor, what do the ancestors say? Because then the spirit medium would say, this is what ancestors say. And they didn't always say what she wanted to hear. She would cry out and say, they are asking for too much. You know, they're asking me to stay strong when my sister has been killed. They're asking for too much. So that's the link between African spirituality and the Afrikan Warrior Women in the book. You will see that each style of leadership, whether they were the Queen Mother, which we call in my language Zulu Indlovukazi, which is the she-elephant, because even the concept she-mother in English is just too light, because Queen Mother is more biological. You gave birth to the ruler, you're a Queen Mother. For us, she-elephant meant you are the first citizen of the land. That's why they're called the she-elephant. You are the keeper of the national altar. So if you look at Eswatini today, the only surviving monarchy, if you look at the photos on the wall, government photos, you'll see her photo is on top, the king's photo is below, even if the country is ruled by the king. You see that balance again. But she's on top because he can't rule without hearing from her as the keeper of the national altar. He can't rule without hearing from the spirit world. So that's the link, in that all these women's style of leadership was informed by the cosmology of those people, because the cosmology ordered how the spirituality was. And you will see that all of them led according to the spirituality of their people. They achieved those feats because they were more attuned spiritually, not because they had a PhD like me, they'd gone to the best school, or they lived in the best country, or they were born in the rural and not the urban area. All that is just periphery. It's just riffraff. They achieved the feats they achieved, which is the central message of the book, because they were spiritually attuned.
Brilliant. Thank you for that. Because basically we're talking about that. We kind of missed that part. So people should just get a context of what, because there's a link there. And that's why we write. That's what the book is all about. Okay. Anuka, you want to go to the quotes now?
Yes, I do. All right, let's start with this one. And you know what? Let's start with my favorite one, because I am a warrior. I am an Afrikan warrior woman. So we will start there, in honor of all Afrikan warrior women. And this is something I'm going to say as I myself continue to journey back to reclaiming our way of being, and as I encounter blessings in elders such as Mama Khanyisile and other elders who have been a part of my journey of reclaiming. Dr. Carr from Howard University. We just had James Small recently. Mzee Omowale, Malcolm X has been part of my journey. The Black Panthers have been part of my journey. So this is going back, Mama Khanyisile, to what you've said before. I am not where I am just because of my efforts. It is the efforts of so many people who have influenced me as I got here. All right. So here's the quote. Mama Khanyisile is asking us, or the spirits are asking us, how dare you forget an Afrikan warrior queen who humbled British soldiermen at war? The great spirit of Sfikiro, and Mhondoro, who, when captured by the enemy in 1897, tried and found guilty by the authority of the British High Commissioner for South Africa, Alfred Milner. Warrior Queen Mbuya Nehanda Nyakasinana did not shrivel. Correct me, please. Nyagasigana did not shrivel. She did not decrease or diminish in stature or bravery. She chose death by hanging rather than to convert to Christianity and revoke her great heritage, curse her culture, declare her ancestors demonic. Yes, death by hanging. And before the noose tightened around her neck, she defiantly told the British Red Devils, Mapfupa Angu Achamuka, my bones will surely rise. When I read this part, Mama Khanyisile, that mafupa angu achamuka, you're talking about the importance of culture. I saw Ubuntu, what is erroneously known as Kiswahili, in that. Mifupa yangu itaamuka.
And it means the same thing.
Same thing.
Wow.
Go on, Mama Khanyisile. Let's talk about this one. My bones will surely rise.
Oh, you are catapulting me into a situation that breaks my heart, actually. Even as you were reading about Neander, my eyes were watering. I dare say it is because Zimbabweans have turned their backs on Neander and embraced Christianity that today they are running helter-skelter away from their country as refugees all over Southern Africa and in Europe. How dare you have such a great heritage of a woman in 18-something who stood up to Cecil John Rhodes and Lord Miller. And today you are telling us you can't stand against dictatorship and lack of democracy. You rather pack your bags and go and be refugees somewhere else. It is the spirit of Neander that made Zimbabweans fight Ian Smith. Can I tell the listeners on the show in case they are not aware? Apartheid was popularized because one of the pillars of our struggle was international support. So apartheid became more popularly known than the struggle of Zimbabweans against Ian Smith. Can I tell you, it was more brutal than apartheid.
Yeah.
Zimbabweans defeated a more brutal enemy than we defeated under apartheid. What has happened today that they are running helter-skelter, scared all over the world and not wanting to fix their country because they are scared of dictatorship and being killed and lack of freedom of speech. I mean, I know I'm being controversial right now, but I'm sent of ancestors. They are not here to be liked. They are here to just set the record straight. What's making you run helter-skelter? Call upon the spirit of Neander. It is that same spirit of Neander. You know, Zimbabwe, of all Southern African liberation movements, and Oladele, had the biggest camps. South Africans didn't skip. MK wasn't that big. SWAPO wasn't that big, Namibia. Frelimo wasn't that big, Mozambique. The Zimbabwe liberation movement was big. They had whole camps of women only, commanded by women. The spirit of Neander swept through and made sure Ian Smith swallows his words. He said, "Over my dead body shall a black person rule Zimbabwe." Well, he said black man, he's a patriarchist. He had to swallow his own words because it happened. The spirit of Neander swept through the villages. That spirit is still available to be tapped into. You know, I like what Bob Marley says. The only African country that Bob Marley visited, how great is Zimbabwe?
Yeah.
The only African country where he inaugurated a song called Zimbabwe. So prophetic, he says in that song, soon we will find out who is the real revolutionary, because I don't want my people to be tricked by mercenaries. Zimbabweans, it's like their liberation. They've been given a template in their hands, how to fight and defend their revolution. So that's Neander. I think I've unpacked her enough. That's Neander. I think Bob Marley in 1980 just comes to put a cherry on top on the spirit of Neander. The only African country graced with the presence of Bob Marley. The only African country inaugurated a song that has talked exactly about what they've gone through from 1980 until now.
Wow. Before we move to the next one, Oladele, and you can read that one. Let's talk about the silver. The silver tier. So I'll put the link in the chat real quick.
No problem. Okay, the silver tier, ladies and gentlemen, is £25 for the copy of the book at a discounted price. Yeah,
dollars, not pounds.
Oh, sorry, pounds. Sorry, excuse me. I'm used to that. Okay, it's $25. The actual retail price is actually $30, but discounted at £25. Free shipping with personalized digital thank you note from Mama Khanyisile. Okay, and This includes a heartfelt message, a digital signature, and even a personalized message related to the book. So that's basically the silver package, guys. So Nduku's going to pin that up now. Oh yeah, you've done that. Good.
Yeah.
So I'll read that again. Okay, I'll read it again. It's basically the RRP is $30, but discounted at $25. Free shipping, a personalized digital thank you note from Mama Khanyisile. The notes could include a heartfelt message, a digital signature, or even a personalized related message to the book. But once you read the book, obviously there's something that something that stands out to you can be sent to you on it.
Mm-hmm. So, and when we talk about the closed session, we're going to have it on August 9th. Friday, August 9th, everyone who supports the publishing of this book, and hopefully by that day we are actually holding copies of the book, right?
That's the plan, guys.
Hopefully we are holding copies and you are holding your copy. So August 9th is the closed session with Mama Khanyisile to have an even a more intimate conversation where you have this time to listen to her in 3 sessions, think about the questions you have, start going back, do your meditation, which is your reconnecting with the spiritual world, right? And figure out what questions your ancestors are guiding you to ask in this process as you return and reclaim our way of being. Oladile.
I was saying that. I was going to say, sorry, Mama Khanyisile. I'm going to just lay out bluntly, guys. What we're looking for is $20,000 to publish this book.
Hey.
That's what we're looking for. That's a lot of money. We're self-publishing. Obviously, like Mama Khanyisile said in the initial, they were going to give it. How much were they going to give you for your work?
Well, UNISA was giving me the highest, and that was 13%. I've done universities in Tanzania. I've done universities in Zambia, in Namibia, universities here, printing companies. It's just, this process made me understand, and I used to be such a cynic. When an artist passes on, and then they say there's no money to bury them, let's collect. I would be so cynical, and I would snap back and say, I am not doing that. Nonsense. They have so many hit songs. They were living their lives. They had the limelight. Where did that money come from? This process made me understand how much of it was actually their money. What rights did they own?
As you say that, I think it's important to be transparent with what is going on, right? So, like I said, I'm wearing 2 roles today, and I speak now under my role as a Mbongi of Mbongi ya Ubuntu. So, Mbongi ya Ubuntu, being a young publishing and distribution organization, has partnered with 2 other publishing bodies. We will eventually reveal who they are. But what we are doing is enabling Mama Khanyisile, and we hope to do this for all other Wana Ubuntu who want to write the story and publish, to keep her 100% ownership of the book.
Yeah, that's
number
the point.
1. To keep 100% ownership of the profits. The only thing we ask for is for expenses to be paid for. So the cost of doing the proofreading, the cost of doing the editing, the cost of doing the graphics and all that. Once that is paid, Mama Khanyisile keeps everything. Mama Khanyisile does not have to live her life looking over her shoulders because a publisher is stopping her from appearing here, appearing there, speaking to this one, acting this way, always getting that email. You cannot, right? She doesn't have to do that. And if she feels tomorrow, like waking up and saying, I think this is a different path for me, she can do that. She has that liberty to do that. This is what we need to do. Many, many, many. And as I speak of this, I'm thinking of my brother, Alimadi, right? Milton Alimadi. His book, to this day, he's trying to free it from publishers. I have posted it on my LinkedIn. If you go there, you'll see a post. To this day, his own book. And yes, knowledge does not belong to anyone. But given that statement, even more so, should it not be owned by these publishing companies? And this is a Western publishing company holding on to Mwana Ubuntu's words and saying it is theirs. So that is wrong, and we are fighting against that. And one way we are fighting against that is leading by example and showing how we can support our brothers and sisters in publishing. So, yes.
Yeah.
We go to the next quote.
Yeah, this is basically why we're doing this, guys.
Before you go to the next quote, I just wanted to talk about August 9. I don't know, when they say ancestors are at work, things just fall into place like in a puzzle. because August 9 is such a historic day in South Africa. It's actually a public holiday. It's the South African Women's Day. That's why most South Africans actually don't give credence to the International Women's Day. Some of them don't even know it, I dare tell you. The day that we know is August 9, because that's the South African Women's Day and it's a public holiday. And it's historic in that in 1956, over 20,000 women were organized and amassed. Can you imagine in 1956, no telephone, no cell phone, no Zoom, no WhatsApp. Wow. They didn't have, I think, close to 90% of those women, if not more, didn't even have landlines in their homes. It was true organization, word of mouth, by women who decided to come together representing the so-called colored community. I say so-called because I don't know what that is. Colored people are black people. The so-called colored people, the Indian, the white, and the African. 4 women came together, organized their communities. Over 20,000 women marched on the union buildings. And because why? They refused to carry passes. This thing that says you can't venture outside your home. It was an apartheid symbol of oppression for Africans. You can't venture outside your home if you don't have your passbook. That's why my images of a black man when I grew up in Soweto on a Saturday morning being sent to go and buy bread was to see a sea of these black men chained to electric poles or to trees, some in groups of 2, some in 1, because they had dared to venture outside their home without a passbook. Now, if they do that to you on a Saturday morning, you're going to be in that police holding cell until Monday morning when you go to court. Even if you get acquitted and you're told you can leave, your weekend has been tampered with. So that's what those women protested and marched against. That's the history of August 9. It is such a historic, it is just, for me, I'm getting goosebumps that the book is on the contribution of African women to our history, to our advancement, and the last one actually falls on August 9.
Yeah. Absolutely brilliant.
And the significance of that is when we were sitting down, when the group, the team, we sat down and we were choosing dates to have different events. We did not know this until we chose the date, and Mama Khanyisile told us this. We are being guided. We are moving in our way of Ubuntu, which is very, very good to be a part of. Oladele, do you want to take this or should I take it? The next.
Let me go. Let me go for this one. This one fascinates me because of what it starts with. If Arabs and Europeans did not believe that Africans were human, why then were they fascinated with where this human species spent eternity? I mean, the thought does not even occur to me about where a monkey will go after death, because a monkey is a monkey. Wow.
Yep.
You know, I don't even know what to say, Oladele and my sister Nduku, because look at the irony, but also I don't know what to call it. I'm struggling to even find a language to describe it. You come here, you tell us we are lowly creatures. It's in the book, by the way. I think it's the background chapter. Scientific racism. We are lowly creatures. We are ahistorical. We are not even in history. Even Engels said so. We are prehistoric. We are not even in history. So we are not subhuman. We are not fully fledged humans. Now, if that's the case, colonize us, take whatever you want to take. Don't even bother about converting us to Christianity, because what does it matter? We are not humans anyway. So God is not concerned about us. Now, how do you say all those things, but you have such a drive to convert us to Christianity because you are concerned about where we will spend eternity? Huh?
Mama Khanyisile, can you imagine me talking to the cow about going to church and saying its prayers?
Or a rat? Imagine me before giving Ratex to a rat, worrying about where it's going to spend eternity. Before I slaughter the goat, I'm worried about where it will spend eternity.
Did you say your prayers?
It just tells you that whatever was said about us has never been true. It was, as Macaulay said, it was an intention to break us, to make us believe negativity about ourselves, which sadly still persists because Africans still skin bleach. They still don't want to have a melanin. They don't realize melanin is a blessing. It protects you against the sun. It makes sure your skin doesn't break easily. We still relax our hair and put all chemicals on it. We don't realize the only brain which is more protected than that of a Caucasian white or the Oriental. My daughter said I shouldn't use Mongoloid or Oriental, whichever one, but Arabs, yellow people. The only brain that's more protected is ours, because your hair coils around your brain. That's why I can't pull your hair. I injure you, even bleed if I pull your hair. But their hair sits on top, so they can pull it out very quickly. There's a whole philosophy to this, by the way. Your hair is also an antenna, so why do you want to fry it and cook it? Because your hair, like if things are not going well in my life, I don't walk with my hair out. I put on headscarves. If it's 2 weeks, I put on I don't leave my house without a headscarf, because I'm trying to recenter myself, because my hair is an antenna. It is the first communication with nature and with our ancestors. So that's why we even had ceremonies or rituals, the word I was looking for, on when to cut our hair and how and what do you do with it. So honestly, just from that code, it should make you realize everything they said about us. You have kinky hair, now you don't want to have kinky hair. You have kruskop, they say in Afrikaans here. You know, you have kafurahare, they say here, kefa hair. You don't want it. It's called a skierpot, like a pot scraper. You don't want it. Those are all the things they said about your hair. But what have they said about their hair? Because honestly, when an African child is born, do you realize they have hair that looks like the other two races? It's soft, it's fluffy, it's underdeveloped by right. So when you develop, it gets proper, it gets tougher for the conditions of this continent where the sun is blazing. So it's now developed hair. So you have developed hair, you are regressing and making it look like underdeveloped hair, which is where you started as a baby. So yeah.
It's self-hate, isn't it?
It's yeah. I don't even know what to say. So from that quote that you read, honestly, if you are sitting here and you still believe they came here and they brought you Christianity or Islam because they were really sent of God and were concerned about you, I beg to differ. If they came here believing we are subhuman and a subspecies, why would it have mattered where we spend eternity?
Wow.
There's a question in the Netflix show Njinga, where Njinga asks I think it's the Dutch that have arrived, and he's asking them, this God of yours, like he's supposed to be a good person, but here you are all like doing this to my people. Like
it's the Portuguese. He was asking the Portuguese.
Right? The irony. This God of yours is supposed to be a merciful, forgiving, gracious, kind God, but you're completely opposite of who this God you're preaching is.
So
and we never stop to ask that. You
know, they say all the slave fortresses, the one in Ghana, the ones you find, the Arab one in Tanzanian island, what is it called?
In Zanzibar?
In Zanzibar.
Or the one in Kenya, Port Jesus.
Yes, throughout West Africa. You know how they built them? The slave quarters were, I find this so ironic. And if it doesn't disturb anybody listening, honestly, get your sensitivity tested. The slave quarters, which were like a pigsty, were underneath. And on top was the worshipping house. So they would have church on top, while a slave was being raped underneath or killed or was dying because of the inhumane conditions. They would have a church on top on Sunday. They would be praising a clean, lily white God, but it's built on the filth that they were creating for Africa underneath. It's just so ironic.
It's interesting you say that, because if I remember correctly, Fort Jesus in Mombasa is in the shape of a cross or something. It's related to Christianity, the way they built it. And that, again, there is the irony. And I will say to those of you who have traveled there, and Mbongi Ubuntu is planning a trip in 2025 to go back and reclaim our narrative there and tell the story of the enslavement of our ancestors in that area in the Maafa, because it's often forgotten as we focus on our ancestors on the West. But when I went last year and I was trying to capture information, the guide had to stop me and warn me not to point out the enslavement of Wana Ubuntu in that location. In Kenya, on African ground, enslavement of Wana Ubuntu. You have Shimolatewa in that region where my ancestors, Wakamba people from the interior were brought and sold, not just my ancestors, multiple people who lived in that area. And what they tell you is apparently the Oman government, which were the enslavers at that time, which were the invaders at that time, the Oman government is currently helping the Kenyan government renovate and maintain that Fort Jesus. And therefore, because of that relationship, we cannot talk about the enslavement of our people in that area because we will anger the Oman government. But guess what I'm not doing? I'm not here to please enslavers. I'm not here to please oppressors. I'm not here to go by what the Oman government that oppressed my ancestors wants. We are going to tell that story, whether they like it or not. No matter how many of us they kill, we will tell that story.
Thanks, sis.
We move on to the gold tier.
Yeah, let's go to the gold. Yeah, go for the gold one.
All right. There's the link for the gold tier. And I'm going to put up the caption. Oladile, you want to read it as I do that?
Okay, I'll go for it. Yeah. The gold is $200. That's what we're looking for. You get 5 signed copies of the book. If you want to give them to friends and family, free shipping, a personalized thank you note.
No free shipping.
No, plus
read
free
from
shipping.
The one I sent you. I can go ahead and read it. I'll read it.
Okay.
I'll read it. Yeah, let me read it.
Which one have I got?
Yeah, no one is trying to do no free shipping. We don't know if it's gonna cost $50 to send it to the UK. We're going to be really honest with you all. Nobody is trying to do no free shipping. Hold on real quick. Let me grab it. Unless you see it.
Yeah, it's the same one. Okay.
No, I'm gonna read it. Hold on, let me read it.
Okay, you read it. Go for it.
All right, the gold, 5 signed copies. You get everything the bronze got and everything the silver got. And on top of that, you get 5 signed copies of the book. If the book is valued at $30, you can multiply that by 5. That is, let me see whether I still remember my math, $150. And you get all the silver perks, like I said. You get early access to bonus content related to the book. So if Mama Khanyisile revises the book, you as a gold person who purchased the gold level gets that first before everyone else. Yes, and you still get access to the closed session on August 9th. Yes.
Yeah.
I see someone put a comment that link takes you to the silver again.
Oh, let me go back and see what's going on with that. What's going on with that. All right, thank you for that.
Okay, while you were saying that, while you're doing that, I think there was a question here. I'm gonna post it up there. It says,
yes, I wanted to answer it. I saw it also.
Yeah. How can people say they believe in creation and then question who is part of creation?
I don't know what they mean. African spirituality has never decided who is part of creation. That's why we don't evangelize, because we don't presuppose. Yoruba don't evangelize Yoruba cosmology on Igbo people. Igbo people didn't evangelize their cosmology on Hausa people, and vice versa, because Yoruba people didn't believe that their cosmology is superior to the cosmology of Igbo people. So in African spirituality, we believe you are born with spirituality. It's inside of you. So there's no need for me to recruit you. So we don't decide who is in creation. Everybody is in creation. It's religion that came and told us, no, you are not all in creation. There's a chosen race, the Israelites, who disappointed God, and because he was disappointed by them, he then grafted all of you second-handers in and made you part of his chosen people. Otherwise, you weren't chosen in the first place. I often wonder, if Israelites didn't disappoint God, what would be Christianity today? It's a wonder. So we don't decide who is in creation. That's why for us, even a lizard is part of creation. For us, even a lizard can give you a message from ancestors. I could have spoken at the altar, and then 3 lizards cross me, And then a seer will tell me, when 3 lizards cross your path, this is what it means. Everything is in creation in African spirituality. If it suddenly decides to rain on a summer day, that rain is telling you something. If it suddenly decides to snow in Nigeria, that snow is telling you something. For us, everything is part of creation. We are in creation and creation is in us. That is why has never been an incident. Please listen to this. My brother Oladele and my baby sister Nduku. There's never been an incident in the history of Africa, and we are the first race on earth, over 1,000 years old, where a particular nationality invaded and attacked another one based on spirituality. Never.
Thank you for saying that.
Yorubas would, if they went to war with Igbo people, it was over resources. It was never to tell Igbo people you can no longer call the originator this, you will call them this, because we Yoruba, that's how we call them. You will no longer believe, Zulu people believe they came through the reeds. That's why the reed dance is such an important thing for them. It ushers the first fertility, and it ushers the planting season, the first rains. Sutu people would never attack Zulu people and say, you no longer came from reeds, because we don't believe that's how cosmology came into being. We have never demarcated who is in creation. Surprise, surprise, it is the very religions that decide who is in creation, which is why they are committed so much atrocities trying to bring us on par with where they are. It's called a unipolar system of development. If you have not walked how we've walked, we are not developed. If you don't speak like we speak, it's not a language. If you don't worship like we worship, it's not a God. If your saints are not like our saints, they are demons and they are satanic. No, please, they mustn't get me started. African spirituality has never decided who is in creation and who is not. In fact, it was dispelled out of creation because it was deemed not fit enough to stand with Christianity on par.
All right, let me make this. Sorry again from veering away from the very important knowledge that is being shared. There is no free shipping being offered at all. I will say that because I'm looking at the pinned message right now. We are not offering free shipping at all on any of the tiers. Let me be clear, because I know my people. You're going to come back and say, I was told. You are not told. I'm telling you right now, clear as day. Yeah. And I'll say it in 2 languages. And I might even say it in Kikamba. There is no free shipping. Because
Haiko.
Haiko hata kidogo. Haiko. Look at Mama Khanyisile. Look at Mama Khanyisile, y'all from South Africa speaking Ubuntu. Why are you not learning Ubuntu? Ask yourself that. When you have Nduko opening her mouth all the time, posting that we have lessons, posting that she has recorded lessons, posting that she has flashcards that you can buy, why are you as a Ubuntu not learning Ubuntu? Ask yourself that. All right. Go on, my brother.
All right. Okay, I'm going to go to another quote, sis. Let's go for this one. Give me a second. Okay, I'm going to go for this one. One thing stood out. In the African context, there is no God, but an originator. The main difference between a God and an originator lies in the relationship with humans. An originator, while deemed supreme, does not condemn humans because there is no concept of sin as it is understood in religion. The morality of ethics code is rather found within the various cultural practices, which has been explained, find their source in spirituality. Thus, as African does not sin against originator, rather they break cultural code or violate their ancestral way of life, which you mentioned that you've talked about already today.
I think an important angle to bring in there is, I wish a lot of people on the show understood Nguni language in South Africa. Nguni language is Xhosa, Zulu, Ndebele, and Swati. So when Christianity came onto the Nguni people, because it came with the concept of God who had to be worshipped. Nguni people suddenly had to find an equivalent for worship in the 4 languages, and because it was non-existent, because an originator is not worshipped, because worship is a lowly and a highly. It's that relationship. The lowly worship the highly, and because our originators are not like that, we didn't have worship. So Nguni people suddenly had to find the word worship, and they compromised on a word called ukukhonza. Swati people say ukukhonda. They don't have a Z, they use a T. But I can tell you now, brother Nduku and my sister, brother Oladele and my sister Nduku, what you've done for me right now, promoting this book, in Nguni language, you've worshipped me. In Zulu, we say, Ninkhonzile, you have worshipped me. So it shows you that it was never a word reserved for a lowly to worship the highly, because we don't have worship, which is a fundamental difference. And how do you see that playing out? Look at the born again fraternity, because the evangelical churches are heavy on worship. Africans have invented a form of worship which I call bumping and rolling. We can't be somber for 1 hour. We are a praise people. That's why we are imbongi, we are izimbongi, which is praisers and poets and historians. And that's creative force in action. We can't be somber and feel sorry for ourselves, which is what religion asks you. You are a sinner, feel sorry, worship. We can't. So what we've now invented, because we don't have that in our DNA, is bumping and rolling. We roll, we bump, we cry, we speak in gibberish, we call it tongues. We've invented all sorts of things to compensate for the angle of worship in the born again fraternity, because it's not in our DNA. After singing the first somber song, we are bored. We are now thinking, okay, what am I eating for lunch today? So we had to jack roll that worship and make it praise, because the bumping, the rolling and whatever is no longer worship. Now that's praise, because praise is the one that's creative, that's articulating, that's singing, that's stamping, that's a fundamental difference. And we could not have worship because there is no inequality between the originator, the deities, the ancestors, and the humans. Jomo Kenyatta talks so boldly about this in Facing Mount Kenya when he describes the Kikuyu. Yeah. Oh, thank you for bringing the book on. When he describes the rain-making, everything collides into one: the originator, the deities, the ancestors, the humans practicing this, the science, the spirituality, the animals, the mountain you're on, or the forest you're in. Everything has to come together in equilibrium for you to fetch that rain. So I think that's the angle I can add to that. As you had said, I talked about it before.
Yeah.
And also, as you speak about that, and I'm reconnecting myself, and as I learn from my brothers and sisters like you, Mama Khanyisile, we have honor in our community. We have honor, and honor can be given to anyone who serves community. It doesn't have to be a king. Like a child can be honored because of a role they played in community. So that is the thing I have seen in our people, honor instead of worship, which in language is very, very important. Why are you being honored? There's a reason why people are honored. We have, for example, in Ubuntu, right, which is based off of all the Bantu cultures. We have ancestors who are honored, and they're called ancestors. And Ubuntu, there's ancestors who are not mentioned because they did not play a good role while they were here. Yeah. They're not honored. When we do libations, we don't do it for them. It is very well understood. When libations are done, they are done for ancestors who served community. Those who caused harm are not honored. And that is what judges who is revered, who is honored, is your role in community, how you served your people.
In fact, my baby sister Nduku, you are evoking something in me that says, that's why in Nguni language, we have idlozelibi, We have a bad ancestor, an evil ancestor, and we have a good ancestor. But here's the thing, spirituality being spirituality and not religion. Do you know that for us, death is not the ultimate sentence? Your walk could have been horrible. You could be an evil ancestor. But if we do cleansing for you, if we do the things that when you appear to us, you ask us to do for you, people say, oh, I don't want to follow African spirituality. Their ancestors are problematic. They're always appearing and asking for things. Then it means your ancestors were really evil, if that's the only thing they appear on. Sorry to burst your bubble. And you, the living embodiment, please do the right thing for them, because it means where they are, they require that cleansing. We use a phrase in Nguni language. We say, Ubuthelwa kwabakini. You are gathered to your ancestors. When you die, you're not automatically an ancestor. You go through cleansing, then you are gathered. When you have earned enough right and cleansing to be gathered to them. So that's why we don't have heaven or hell, because that cleansing can still be done for you, even after your death. So, yes.
Yes, that's thank you so much for sharing that, because now that's a responsibility on us who are here. And that goes back to the Dikenga, right? The Dikenga symbol of the Bakongo people, which is a pictorial, an image of that process, that it's a cycle. That you can go into the spirit world, but while you're there, you start repairing. And your people
you have to go for the stages.
Yes, are repairing your wrongs so that you can come back and you have another chance. And it's like cycle.
Yes. And you know, when Christians and Muslims came here, they used it to mock us, because how do you claim you understand our spirituality if you're not speaking our language? How have I come to master the Brits and know they are evil and they are good? It's because I can speak their language. I dare say for some of them, it's even spoken language. I think I speak it better than them, because for me, it's academic English. You know, they might pronounce it better than me, but for some of them, it's just street language. So mine is even better. But I could do that because I can speak the language. Therefore, I can penetrate the culture. Now, how did they even claim to understand us when they didn't speak our languages and didn't even deem them fit enough to be learned? So they used that to mock us. They said, oh, these people, when their people die, they become ancestors. Imagine a rapist now becoming an ancestor. Lack understanding. Because when someone passes on today, we don't suddenly by Monday say that they are an ancestor. We know they go through that journey, which you and my brother and my sister just referred to, that journey of cleansing. That's why we have Ma'at. What was Ma'at doing in Kemet? She was weighing the souls after death. So the fact that there's no heaven or hell doesn't mean you live the way you want and you desecrate the earth and, you know, so be it. There is no recompense for my actions.
And you do touch on this in the book. You talk about how you're judged.
There's a quote about that.
Yes, you do talk about this in the book. The other quote that got me, before we move on to the other tier, we can talk about this one. The women from whom African women are birthed, Emecha, and correct me if I'm wrong, Emecha Wekati e Africa, heroines of Africa, left behind legacies.
So that's Siswati. So Siswati's C is like the Zulu C and the Xhosa C. In fact, all the Nguni C's are, the tongue is on the roof. So Emma Kawegati.
Emma Kawegati, Africa. Left behind legacies that have survived 15 centuries of systemic and statutory lies about the lowly societal position of the pre-colonial African woman. The legacies are resurfacing to shine a spotlight on the dethronement of a woman once divine, now reduced to an originator of sin. Like it is said that truth liberates, likewise, a liberating reawakening is sweeping through the continent, replacing the lie with the true history of the African woman.
I think today, of the three races on earth, white, black, and yellow people, if we have to use colors, When you can walk into any classroom and you say patriarchy is synonymous with which culture, everybody unashamedly, unwaveringly will say with African culture, because we have come to own it. And little do we understand that it's Islam and Christianity that gave us patriarchy. The African woman's feats and history has been erased and blotted out of history books, even sometimes by African men themselves.
Yep.
Because of their conversion to the two religions. And I'll give you an example of the Hausa people. I always find that Oladele is such a shining example. If you go to Kaduna today and you find a woman who's committing adultery, you have a right to drag her out, put her in the public square and stone her. And in proper Islam, if you have sons, they are the first ones who must stone you. And people must understand this stoning, we dig a hole, we put you in and you appear only with your head. So the stoning means we stone you on your head till you die. But we will never ask who's the man that you were in bed with. It is never asked in Islam. Now listen to this. How do a people who originate from 13 warrior queens, that's who Hausa people originate from. They were called the Khabe warrior queens. How do a people who originate from such matriarchy become so ruthlessly patriarchal today? What happened to them then and now? What was the in regnum? It's Islam. Whether people want to hear it or not, it's Islam.
It's the truth.
What happened to Zulu people? Because people will say, oh, you talk about us, talk about yourselves. What happened to Zulu people? Zulu people today don't say we are the nation of Shaka. Are you aware? Most people who are not South African are not aware. Zulu people don't describe themselves as the nation of Shaka. But who formed Zulu people? Shaka did. Because Zulu people were a very small enclave compared to Abagadingisoyo. They were called the nation of Batetwa or the nation of Zwide, Amandwandwe, or there were many others. They were the smallest. It is Shaka who attacked the others and grew them into the Zulu nation. But they don't describe themselves as the people of Shaka. They call themselves the people of Mtania. Mtania was a woman. Mtania is Tagazelo in Zulu. What we call praise poetry. It's praise poetry of the Sibia people. Why are they called the nation of Mtania? It is Mtania. Because it is Mtania who made sure that there's an heir to the throne who was Shaga's father, Senza Makona. But who looked for Mamtania? It's Mkabai, the one I said, was never on any throne. She is the paternal aunt to Shaga. When Mkabai's mother dies and does not leave an heir, they were patrilineal, not patriarchal. Don't confuse the two. Patrilineal meaning the person on the throne has to be a male. So when Mkabai's mother dies and leave 3 girls, Mkabai is one of them. Mkabai realizes, because we are small, all the other big ones will absorb us and eat us in. So we need an heir. But she could see that my father, King Jama, is not in Ndaba. He's not interested in women. What does she do? She rises up and goes and look for a wife. Imagine this. In today's patriarchy of Zulu people, a woman rises up to go and look for a wife for the king, who is her father, brings the wife home and says to the father, I found you a wife that you will marry, and I have spoken to my ancestors. This wife is the one that will bear the heir. And she did. The name actually means you have done right, Mkabai, which is what the king said. When that is born, Mkabai, we have done accordingly. We have done right. Senzangakona gives birth to Shaka. Shaka is the one that is known with the Zulu people, but Zulu people themselves call themselves the nation of Mtania. How did they become so ruthlessly patriarchal? What happened then? Oh, let's start by saying Mkabai's father had made her and her sisters military commanders. That's why I said she commanded the battalion, Abakulus. And there she goes out to look for a wife for the king. What happened between then and now? Why suddenly now when you say Zulu, you just think of the Zulu might of the men and the patriarchy? What happened? They also converted. Look at the history of their kings and how they describe themselves. Did you see when they were inaugurating their king right now? I couldn't watch that thing. It was so shameful. It was in English. They had a church service. I'm just like, wow, is that where you are today? Mukaba, if he had to wake up and look at you guys, she'll die again. So what happened to them? Just like Hausa people, religion happened. Change their gender relations. It's the same story. You can go all over our people. That conversion changes everything. It tempers with the gender relations. Why? Because there's something we haven't said the whole evening, my brother and sister. It is the belief system that orders the gender relations. Are you aware? I'll say this again. Gender relations of any society are ordered by the belief system. I use belief system with tongue in cheek because in spirituality, we don't believe in belief. There's no belief. You believe only because you have limited knowledge.
Yeah.
I sat on the chair I'm sitting on today, not believing it will sustain me. I know it will sustain me. I've sat on it countless times. The chair is I have the knowledge of the chair. So anyway, I'm using the word belief system because of maybe some of the listeners. Now, all gender relations of any group of people come from their belief system. Christianity has a male God, has all male angels. The disciples were all male. Jesus is a man. The Catholic Church, the biggest fraternity and the mother of all churches, by the way, is still a male outfit because a woman cannot be a priest. Now, can you imagine that Christianity would have ordered gender relations where men and women are equal? It's not possible. Not when it says women are the weaker sex. Not when it says the man is the head of the house. Not when it says the woman cannot teach men, they must learn in silence. It is not possible. Islam the same, founded by a man. Prophet is a man. The imams or whoever, the first ones, I don't know if they've changed it, but also just male dominated.
Yes, it is still.
So would it have ordered balanced gender relations? It's not possible. Then you find the cosmology of Amazulu, the Zulu people, who believe they bahlubukile, they broke off of reeds as male and women, as men and women together. How would it then have turned around and said the man is the head, you are the follower? Not possible. That's why we find before the advent of the British, because they are the first ones to arrive there to colonize, that's why you find that before they came, in Mkaba's time as a girl, the father didn't discriminate her. King as she was, she put her and the sisters in charge as military commanders. The father didn't say, how dare you women go and look for a man for me. Today, because they are the ones who started in that day to say we are the nation of Mtania when they see Mtania has brought an heir. The king didn't say, how dare we describe ourselves after a woman. But what has happened today? The religion has happened because they converted to Christianity. So Christianity calls the shots. Now the man is the head.
I was gonna say, as you're talking about the Hausa, and I recently, so I'm not well versed with the Hausa people, right? And so as we continue to do the research on language, the linguistics characteristic of our people, I encountered Hausa and how it is heavily infected by Arabic. Heavily, more than Ubuntu, heavily infected by Arabic. And so I sat there feeling sorry that this language, I could not find words that were authentically theirs. It was mostly Arabic.
Yeah.
And I as you continue to talk, I'm thinking in my head, the one thing that I had, my experience with the religion, like I said, I was born a Catholic, named Joan after Pope John Paul II, because he was in Nairobi on the day I was born. Went through baptism, went through confirmation, called Macrina. That one I selected because I knew Joan was a warrior, and I have always had a warrior spirit, and I looked for a saint who was a warrior, and I chose Macrina. But these names, these things, these practices that are a lot of nonsense. Why am I saying nonsense? Because they don't make sense. They don't make sense. It doesn't make sense why we have a God who these people who say we should worship him claim that he is all loving. that we are all made under his image. But yet they step back and say the same God changed his mind and said that only men can lead. The same God changed his mind and said women are inferior. It doesn't make sense.
The same God, sorry, my sister, the same God didn't respect our languages enough that after being the first race on earth, I had to forsake being Khanyisile and be Maria Goretti Benedicta so that God can accept me better.
How does
the
that
same God couldn't hear me praying, doing the liturgy of the Catholic Church in Zulu, because for millennia on end, the Catholic procession was conducted in Latin. Imagine Africans saying words they didn't even understand. Domini Spiritus. They don't even know what they are saying.
Yep. They still have masses in Latin. The first mass in the morning is Latin in most places.
So it really doesn't make sense. Honestly, that's why when people say, oh, it's the same God.
No, it doesn't make sense.
Your God had a favorite. Your God had Israel as the favorite, the apple of God's eye. You know, my sister even asks me, Catholic as she is, she says, you know, there's one thing that she says there's one thing that bothers me. I can't live with it. If they are the apple of God's eye, what are we? And then I always joke and say, well, the thorn of God's eye, you've been grafted in.
Thank you, my
know
sister.
That?
Unbelievable. Yeah, these things don't make sense. And these are the things that we need to ask ourselves. Oladele, are you trying to leave or something?
No. I'm sitting up. I'm just taking it all in. Yes, it's a learning moment for me. I'm taking it all in, man. It's deep.
It is deep.
I'm here. It's deep.
And we're just starting, right? It is deep.
Yeah, we've just started,
I keep forgetting that you're back at home and it is late.
I'm home.
I'm sending you
it's
energy.
Fine.
I'm sending you lots of energy.
I'm good.
All right. So we have the platinum tier. That's what I'm going to share right now. There's the link. Let me know if the link I'm sharing is wrong, because before I had selected the wrong one. And we changed the caption right there. Let me just make sure that is changing.
Do you want me to read that one out? Yeah.
Yes, please. Do you have the one I sent you?
Okay. That's the last one. Give me a second. Yeah. I think I got it. The last one that came through. Okay. I hope I got it right though. It's platinum, basically $500. It's got all the gold perks plus 5 more signed copies of the book. The opportunity to have your name included in the acknowledgements of the section of the book. This perk provides backers with a lasting memento of their support for the book and creates a sense of ownership. So basically, what we're going to do is basically have your names engraved in the acknowledgement page, so your names will be there forever. So whoever picks up that book will have your book. You'll have your name in their hands. So basically, that's the platinum offer. So that's basically what that says. So basically, you have the gold perks plus 5 more signed copies, and then you'll have your names included in the acknowledgements of the book, where we'll have your names written there. So that's the platinum perk, guys. So guys, before we go, we need $20,000, guys. $20,000. We got 3 more of these sessions coming up, and then by the last session, we are looking to our ancestors to make this a reality. But we need your support. And this is what we call Ubuntu. We want the money to go to our sister. She's done all the work. There's no point in actually doing all that work and give the money to the capitalist system. That's what we're trying to avoid. And this is basically why we're building a community where we support each other to bring all these kind of works, this knowledge to us, through us, and not through the systems. So guys, we need your support. We are appealing to you, share the links. If you haven't signed up to any of our groups, our podcast, just share. Emerging at Kabbalah, Kumbukeni, we're out there. Just share this everywhere. Thank you.
All right, so we're going to go over one more quote before we say goodbye, and then we're going to go to questions. Let me just make sure we're running the right platinum 500. And let's make sure that we have the link. It's in the pinned links. So the pinned comments all have all 4 tiers. Again, the website is coming up, and I'm going to put that up right now. It is www. Do you have that? Mama Khanyisile
LT.com.
That's the website. Right now, when you go there, there's nothing much showing. Again, we are going to have it up. Hopefully by the end of the weekend, you'll be able to go and see what's in there, more information about the book. This is where eventually you'll be able to interact. And this is just the beginning of Mama Khanyisile's journey. This website is going to continue hosting more of her writing. She is currently writing 2 other books, one on Afrikan spirituality. So this website will be the place where you as the community can come and interact with her. We will eventually have an interactive space where you can leave messages and she can answer at her own convenience. Yes. So Oladele, I have a quote here.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, let's go for it.
See, I'm not even listening to you all with your sleeping time, Mama Khanyisile. I am not criticizing you.
So my sister Nduku.
Yes.
Before you read your quote, I'm gonna disappear for a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, old age. I need a body break for a minute, and then hold that quote because I want to hear it also.
Yes, I will.
Okay. No worries.
As Mama Khanyisile joins us, and see, this is what I love about us. This is what I love, and this is what I'm talking about when I say no perfection. Because if Mama Khanyisile was in a Western space, she probably would have had to hold until they go, right?
Until the break, innit?
Until the break. But here at home, there's a need. So yes, Mama Khanyisile, please step away and take care of that.
We can be ourselves, sis.
Right? Oladele, let's look at what she talked about. Religion is an opium. That was one of the things that Mama Khanyisile said, and I was like, you're right, because as we look at our people, they are completely addicted. They're addicted. And we've tried therapy, we've tried talking to them, right? We've taken them no, they're not letting go. And the only
don't forget we had an incident, remember?
Yes,
we had and that attack because we're speaking the truth. So to
have a fellow Mwana Ubuntu come and attack a Mwana Ubuntu on a Western space because of their religion, Christianity is a shame.
Yeah, it is.
And I'm saying right now, you all like to call me abrasive and all kinds of names. I welcome them because I am a warrior woman. I am a Mwana Ubuntu warrior woman. So I welcome them. I'm not supposed to be making you comfortable. I'm not supposed to be making you feel good. I'm supposed to be making you very uncomfortable so that you let go of the infection. This is what my role is, to make you very uncomfortable so that you start questioning the choices you have made. So I'm going to say, you who knows better, because that woman does know better, that person does know better. Shame to you, and you must do better.
Yeah. Just to defend something that's not ours, and we get attacked, unfortunately.
And this is the thing: the person we are referring to has Oladele's personal information, can reach out on the side. Please, brother, could you stop attacking my faith? No, the person has to come and display all the dirty laundry in front of everyone.
Yeah, and on everybody to see. Yeah. Anyway, that's just a title, but this is basically what we're dealing with. When we're talking about decolonizing the mind, this is what we're dealing with, guys. You embrace, you defend, you read to defend something that's not you. It's not your true identity. It's not your authenticity. It's not yours. It's something that's just pushed towards you. It's not who you are. But you need to actually, fight and die for what's not you. The reason why we are missing it in Africa today, this is the reason why we're missing it so badly, because basically everything that we're doing is contrary to who we are. The moment we go back to who we are collectively, spiritually, things will fall in place. That's what our ancestors did. That's why they can build the pyramids in those days. That's why they can do other things, because everything was in sync. But now we're just going completely away from who we are. That's basically Africa. That's why Africa is messy at the moment. People don't understand how deep this is. Anyway, go with the code.
It is so deep. Just a quick one. It is so deep that we had African communities who had converted to Islam because they are the ones who came first, and by 476 were cemented basically North and West Africa. They came in 639. I've been looking for that date in my mind. And Christianity and Europeans come about 7 centuries later, if not 9, 1400, we can count. Anyway, it is so messed up that you had Africans attacking each other. We never fought about our cosmology. I said that. Yeah. But you had communities that were Muslim attacking Christian communities as the Europeans were coming in, and these ones were converting to Christianity. These ones went to war with these ones. So you have Africans fighting over Islam and Christianity, but both religions are not ours.
Wow.
So here's
That's how messed up we are.
Really, like it really needs to be a mental, and I know there are people in the community who are making the effort to diagnose it as a mental condition that needs to be addressed. Here is another one. And this one is actually another one of my favorites, because it very much goes back to what we are trying to do at Mbongi ya Ubuntu, and what a lot of us, Mama Khanyisile, my brother, at the Imaginal Keblan, we're all trying to do. The Africans' disposition towards nature was that nature can do without humans, can't do without, but no, the nature can do. I'll start again. The Africans' disposition towards nature was that nature can do without humans, but not vice versa. For instance, in Kiswahili, the saying goes, itunze ardhi vyema, hukupewa na wazazi, bali umekopeshwa na dhuria zako. Take good care of the earth. It is not given to you by parents, but you have been lent it by your descendants. Herein lies the warning that our negative actions against the environment today become our children's heritage. They will bear the brunt of nature's wrath. Yoruba people have the same warning. Lord Jeje, and please, my Yoruba brothers and sisters, forgive me for the way I say it. Lord Jeje ni abaye, ti oba ni ipalara, kolle pada. Thank you, my brother. Tread softly in the world. If it is harmed, it cannot return. Isizulu has an equivalent, albeit with a double meaning. Isilala, or isishasha, asienwa, asinyelwa. Do not defecate under a tree just because you are done using its shade. You might need it again. Another meaning refers to human relations. Do not make enemies of a person because you think you are done needing them, or you might just need them again. Mama Khanyisile, our relationship on Ubuntu with the environment, with nature. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, most important one, actually.
You know, whenever they say global warming, climate change, I'm just like,
wow, thank you.
There is no African that caused that.
No.
We know who caused it. Bunch of white males. And they haven't stopped. The fact that there's global warming doesn't mean they've stopped. I mean, I like watching documentaries on TV. They are drilling the ocean for oil. America talked about wanting to go and mine in sky. And I'm just like, what is it with Christianity? Because, I mean, that's their philosophy. They are Christian. What is it with Christianity that does not understand that we are in nature and nature is in us? What is it? Is it maybe because the book of Revelation says God's going to destroy this earth that he so loved, and he will send fire and brimstone and destroy it, and stars will fall, so they might as well start destroying it? We don't believe in an earth that will end. Maybe that's why we had better respect for the earth, because we didn't believe it will end and we will be taken away into some other earth. We believed we were here to stay. That's why it's the Yoruba one that says it was borrowed it by your future generations. That's the Yoruba one. Yes, because we didn't believe we are going anywhere. There's no book of Revelation for us. We are here to stay. So look after the earth and the earth will look after you. As you started by reading, the earth can live without us, but we can live without it. The earth doesn't need to eat. We need to eat from the earth. So, you know, whenever they talk about global warming, I'm just like, but we know who caused it. Why aren't we naming and shaming? Which is another thing that we need to talk about before this show closes. When you are African and you do something, you do it for your whole race. That's why in America, where you are now, my sister Ndugu, they arrest a black man, manhandle them, sometimes even incarcerate them for 15 years. And all they can say is he fits the description.
Right?
He looked like the others, you know. For us, our actions have consequences. When you do something, you do for your race. When they do something, they don't do for their race. Over 90% of white males cause global warming because they are who owns these multinational companies. But we don't name and shame. We talk about global warming as if it was some accident of nature, or as if Asia, Africa, and America came together to cause global warming. No, we know who caused global warming, and they are continuing to cause global warming. But we are not naming and shaming. No. But when there are two warring African nationalities, we name and shame. We say, oh, it was the Zulu, no, it was the Tutsi, and it was this leader of theirs. That's why they can drag our leaders to the International Criminal Justice Court. But George Bush hasn't gone there for attacking a whole country and reducing it to Iron Age based on a lie that they are weapons of mass destruction. So, you know, what you just read for me, it says a lot. It says even about how we live and how we view things even today. We respected nature so much. They didn't. They desecrated on it. Now we are all affected. Now we must all pick up the pieces and all pay for it equally. There's not taking responsibility about it. So I think I'll leave it there.
And it even goes back to talk about our inferiority complex, right? This belief in the fact that the white man knows better, West knows better. Despite the fact that we understand that they created the crisis that we have right now with the environment, we are allowing them to come to our nations and say, now we must fix it. What are they talking about? Green Africa, or they need carbon, what are they called?
Carbon
credits, right? So now Africa has been put with the burden of creating carbon credits. Congo now must give access to these white men and women of their forest so that they can purchase carbon credits.
Take more of their lands, basically.
And the different African nations must give credits to Dubai, because Dubai wants to build fake towns and wants to do plumbing that does not make sense, destroying that space. So because they want to continue infecting the earth, their way of balancing that is having Africa sell them credits. It's not cleaning up their mess.
More destruction, sis.
You know why they are doing that? I don't know how many people have gone through Europe. I know my brother Oladele should have gone through Europe because, I mean, he lives there. I marveled in 1989 when I was in East Germany because they supported our liberation struggle. All former communist countries supported our liberation struggle. So I trained in East Germany for a year. I marveled at the forests. I asked a fellow Umkhonto Wesizwe combatant I was with, I was like, tell me why this forest is so orderly. The trees are nicely in a same row. And he said to me, because they're all artificial forests. They are planted and created. So I was like, so there were no natural forests in Europe? He said, oh, no, they were. They killed them all in the spirit of development, not knowing they're working against themselves. So, you know, the destruction of the Amazon under Bolsonaro working with these white, we call them multinational or capital, what they are doing in Africa, what they are doing in the Congo, I always say it's because they have lost theirs. So they are just like, why should we have it when out of their own stupidity, they've lost their own? How do you, they found us here, we are the first race on earth. How come the rainforests survived when we were in charge? Wow. How is it they're getting destroyed under their watch? The so-called civilized, so-called Christian, all-knowing God is the one that's inspiring these people to destroy nature. How come with our stupid God, these rainforests survived? Right. Because we held them sacred, because we don't have a church. We even did some of our rituals in these rainforests.
Growing up in Kenya, we had this practice, and I hope it is still there. You cut one tree, you plant two. Every time you cut one tree, you are expected to plant two. This is something we can walk away with. One of the lessons we can walk away with today. And I want to thank everyone who has purchased the book. We have a few people who have. Thank you so much to those who have purchased the book. On the pinned comments, right at the top of comments, you'll see pinned. There are 5 pins there. The 4 are the tiers, and when you click, it explains what you're getting, what you're buying, and the 1 is the website, which we hope to have up in the weekend. Mama Khanyisile will be appearing in different spaces. We will hold other sessions like this one in a month, every month.
On the 7th of June is the next one, guys. 7th of June. Same time.
Just keep looking out. This campaign, this pre-purchase campaign is going to run until August 8th, Thursday, August 8th. So you have time. I know a lot of our people are living paycheck to paycheck. I know that. I can relate with you. So
that's
you
what
have
we've
time.
been reduced to.
Yes, you have time to save $5, $2 each month until you have that $20, until you have that $25 to get yourself a copy. And for those of you who've been blessed financially, do not be limited by the tiers. If you have a deep pocket and you want to reach and get 10,000 so that you can make it lighter, get the 10,000 and send it. If you want to pay for the whole process 20,000 and you have it, yes, get the 20,000. I'm talking to you, Sean Kutis. I'm talking to you, Beyonce. I'm talking to you, Tyler Perry. I'm talking to you all who've been blessed and invited at that table that you think is so valuable, and you've been told that you're a special Negro and given a certain salary. Please take some of that salary and send it this way. We're doing some good work. Thank you. Oladele.
Okay, thanks, guys. Just to round this off, like Unduku said, we've got all the tiers there. It's $20,000 that we're after. Please, please, please. This is about Ubuntu. This is about collective communal living, putting ourselves together, doing what we need to do to build ourselves up. This is it. This is why we are behind this project, because we think it's something that is worth promoting. And there's going to be more projects like this coming up. So this is the first of many. So guys, let's support Mama Khanyisile. Let's get this knowledge out there. This book needs to be on the shelves where kids will read this book and get understanding of who we were as Akebulans, as Africans, Afrikan Warrior Women. Ubulungisa. Ubulungisa. Okay, guys. It's our Ubulungisa. Okay. It is our stories told by our mother. So please, see you. We're going to be back on the 7th of June. Akunduka said, please purchase, donate. Please, we need this to get on the shelves. This is our project, guys. Support us. Thank you very much, guys.
And those of you who heard us say, because I'm seeing in the comment, those of you who heard us say that the campaign's deadline is June 7th, I will repeat it again, because today I have welcomed Grace. Usually Grace sits in the corner there and I tell her to mind her own business, but I will give you Grace today. All right. The campaign is running until Thursday, August 8th, not June 7th.
August 9th.
Thursday, no, 9th is
August
when we have the
9th.
gathering. August 8th is the end of the campaign to buy.
Oh, yes.
August 8th, so that we can sort out and we can send you the links to join the conversation. August 8th, so that you don't have us running at night trying to figure out different times so that who bought at the last minute. No. August 8th is when we are closing the campaign, not June 7th. June 7th is the next day we come here and do another presentation and talk about different parts of the book. All right.
There's a lot more to cover. There's a lot more to uncover in the book, because I'm still going through it. There's a lot to go through, and we're just going bit by bit until you get a full understanding of what the book is all about.
Maybe as a teaser, if my brother and sister allow me.
Yes.
For the 7th, come and hear why the book argues that the African woman lost more through colonialism and Christianity than the men.
Wow. Something to look forward to, guys. Something to look forward to. I'm looking forward to that.
Me too.
That's deep. Something to look forward to.
Do you have any last words, Mama Khanyisile, as we go by? Any words for us as we sit in this?
I think I am grateful. I am humbled. I'm reminded of a can say in an Africa that was uncontaminated by religion and foreign culture, where umuntu ngabantu, a person was a person because other people were people. So you've really ningikhonzile Oladele and you have worshipped me by taking up the responsibility to drive the publication of the book. But to everyone who has tuned in, 2 hours is a lot of time on a Friday, and we are even at different time zones. I think it's morning for you, Nduku. You were saying you made your breakfast and couldn't even get to eating it. It's late for Southern Africans. I mean, it's after 8 at night.
Yeah, 7:30 in Nigeria right now.
Yes, for us, it's 2034, I think. Yeah. So, you know, I appreciate the time. I appreciate the love. I appreciate the interaction, because you can tune in also and say nothing. So I appreciate the comments, but I even appreciate the comments of those who don't agree with us, because how do we help you where you are if you pretend that you're agreeing with us when you know we are not, when you know we have unresolved things, or when you know you're angry with us? Say, I'm angry because of this and this. We understand you. We got you because we were there once. So I'm really I'm feeling the love, and I'm so grateful for this tree called the laptop that we are under today. It is a tree because that's where we resolved our things. So, Tamaku, Ashe,
Eshegon.
Eshegon.
Thank you very much in Yoruba. Thanks, guys. So we'll see you on the 7th, same time, June 7th. We need to get this campaign going. We need the funds, $20,000. Just to reiterate, we need $20,000. Thanks for everybody for participating in this. We'll see you soon.
Hold on real quick. Let me just share something I forgot to share. If you have any questions, this is the email you should reach out to. So yes, please. Sorry about that. Reach out to sawi@jumuiyayanguza-saba.org. You can find me or Oladele on LinkedIn. Mbongi Ubuntu is pushing the distribution and publication of this. So reach out to me or Oladele or any member of Mbongi Ubuntu, and you'll know them by the posts that they're making regarding the community. So just reach out to us if you have any questions.
Or the Emerging Akebelen page where we're streaming this presentation live. So thanks for coming, guys. We'll see you soon.